Hello and welcome to the Inside Stylist podcast, where we talk all about interiors with interviews with interior stylists, writers and the big names in interiors, from brands and PRs to artists and designers. I also catch up with industry experts in the know and get them to share all their knowledge and advice. There's so much to talk about. I'm your host, Emma Morton-Turner, an interior stylist and a writer with a ton of experience. I set up InsideStylist.com so I could share all that interiors love with you. So don't forget to head on over to the website for not only the show notes from today's episode, but for links to interior stylists, writers and assistants profiles, and a ton of inspiration. But for now, enjoy the show. Hello, we have another solo episode this week, and it's all about accountability. I have had accountability for many years, and I feel like it's like magic. It's the formula that drives you to get those tasks done that you would rather put off. I've been a part of lots of different accountability programs. Some work really well, some not so much, but they all move me forwards in my goals in some way or another. And there's something very motivating about having someone who's got your back, someone who'll check up on you, make sure you're doing what you say you're going to do, and kind of give you a bit of a nudge or an elbow in the ribs when you're not getting things done. So that's what today's episode is about. Finding the right person. What do you actually do during an accountability call to get your kind of ambitions and goals and dreams working, to get actually moving? And that is what I'm going to be talking about today. So I thought it would really help to explain what happens during an accountability call. I've done group sessions and been part of a group. It's not called accountability, it's kind of group coaching, I suppose. And I've done one-to-one sessions. I've done them with friends and I've done them with coaches. So I've experienced quite a lot of different ways of having accountability. And I think it depends on the person which works best for you. I find that doing group coaching, it's very easy to slip through the cracks. You will say what you're going to do, but no one person is really watching what you are specifically doing. Kind of as a group, you're excited to hear everyone's goals and you're excited to hear what everyone achieves, but no one is saying, well, actually last week you said you were going to go and write 6 blog posts. Did you actually do that? No one really calls you up on it. So I found that group coaching is really good for learning how other people work, getting lots of tips and lots of advice, and lots of different perspectives and viewpoints, which actually can be very, very beneficial. I had a lot of success in a group coaching session as I was setting up Inside Stylists. I had people who were many steps ahead of me who had built websites, and I had a lot of advice. In fact, that's how I found Larry, my web developer, through that group coaching session. But when it comes to moving myself forward individually, I have found that solo kind of accountability works much better. When I say solo, I mean one-to-one. So I have someone specifically listening to what I'm doing, watching what I'm doing, I'm watching what they're doing. And if I say I'm going to do something and then I don't do it, there is no escape. That person knows I haven't done it. And it's their job to call me out on it. So what happens during a call? Well, whether it's a group or a one-to-one session, you will state what you've done since the last call. So usually you start by saying, I said I was going to do X, Y, Z, and this is what happened. Or you might say, I had problems with this, and this is the reason. And the other person might pipe up and say, well, have you tried this? Or do you know that person? They might be able to help with you with that. They'll give you the advice that you might need, or just another outlook on it. And then you then say what you're going to do before the next session. So you kind of each week you start by saying what you achieved and then what you're going to achieve. So who do you use for accountability? Who could be your accountability partner? Well, you have to be very selective when it comes to this. There are a few criteria that I would really recommend. Firstly, it's good to find someone who's on your level and understands your situation. I mean, as an interior stylist, 9 times out of 10, if you say to Joe Blogs on the street you're an interior stylist, they think you're an interior designer. If you say you work for magazines, they think you're a journalist. So to find someone who really understands your job, preferably is in the same job as you because they'll understand your goals, that will really, really help. If you're looking for an accountability partner, you're obviously driven. So you're going to be looking for the same things anyway. So that is a really good start. So If you're a mum, another working mum would be good. If you're an assistant, another assistant, maybe another editor, another PR, someone who really gets what you're doing. But if someone is in a very similar life situation to you, that also helps, because if you are a really busy working mum and you've got someone who isn't a mum and has a lot more free time than you, they might not understand your constraints. I'm not saying that wouldn't work at all, but it's just something to consider. You need someone you can trust. You need to know that you can say your biggest goals, your biggest ambitions, something you're working on that you don't really want leaked out to anyone until you're ready to launch. You need someone you can completely trust. Unfortunately, your life partner just isn't going to be the right person. I've spoken to quite a few people about this in the past, and they've tried working with their partners. Now, I would never even attempt to do this with Mr. MT. He understands my job completely, but he lives in a very different managerial sort of setting. So he wouldn't really get the nuances of being a stylist the way, so he is a manager and he does very traditional sort of business. And when I say the way business works for stylists and writers and kind of the magazine world, it's very, I don't want to say lovey, but it is very friendly, very relaxed. Sorry, I'm just going to say my dog is sitting on my lap. So if you hear huffing and puffing, it's him, not me. When I first said maybe he should come on board with Inside Stylist and help me do some of the behind the scenes work, and we talked about the business side of it, and he was very matter of fact, quite direct. And I was like, no, you go for coffee and you chat. We're all friends. It's a very different environment. So for that reason, he wouldn't work as an accountability partner. Also, I don't really want to talk business with my husband. I want to talk about the dog and the kids and where we're going at the weekend. I don't really want to merge those lines. It for me, I don't think it works as well. They'll probably, I'm saying probably, he would definitely let me off the hook. I don't want someone who's going to let me off the hook. I want someone who's going to make me feel like I've got to get stuff done. You want someone who will really support your journey. So the closer in careers you are, the better. You want someone who will kick your butt if you slack off. So like I just said, you want to sit down and have every goal you've said you will achieve by next week done, because that person is going to say, well, come on, you said you were going to write a blog post, or you said you were going to finish that really big feature or get that research done, and you haven't done it. What's going on? Why haven't you done it? Where are you struggling? You want someone who will hold you accountable for that. So once you've found someone, how do you run a successful accountability session? The best thing to do is to start by setting the boundaries and the conditions. You are both going to come to accountability with different things that you want out of it. So as long as you make sure you both understand where you're at and what you want, you can accommodate to both needs. So it's really essential you get the structure set out from the very beginning. So decide how often you want to have your check-ins and where you want to do it. I think that 30 minutes is probably perfect, because this is all about getting to the point. This is business. This isn't socializing. It isn't chit chat. Now, this is where I tend to go off. If you do it with a friend, you have to be ready for the chit chat. I have had a friend that I do accountability with for a couple of years, and I know it's going to take an hour and a half, because we're going to talk quite a lot. But that's not what I'm talking about here. Here, I'm talking about getting your goals set, sorted, done. No chit chat. You have 30 minutes. You literally strictly get 15 minutes each. Where are you going to do it? I think that doing it face to face is essential. So whether that's FaceTime or Skype or any other method of video talking, you might be on a Zoom call. But if that's not possible, obviously the next best thing will be a phone call. If you're unable to catch up sometimes, maybe one of you has got a shoot and you can't do it on that set day, then a check-in on text or on a WhatsApp message is really good, because once you miss a call and it goes from 1 week to 2 weeks, you kind of let yourself off the hook, whereas actually you mustn't do that. You must keep to the week, because once it starts to slide, it's when it stops being, you're not accountable, essentially. You're just not accountable. If you can't call on the set day, you need to just check in. It's really good to do a regular date and a regular time. Now, I know with our careers that is very difficult, but maybe you do it really early. Maybe you do a 7 a.m, maybe you do a 6 a.m, or maybe you do a 7 p.m. and it's every week at the same time, so you know it's coming. It's just easier to know that it's coming, and you've got a week rather than a week and 3 days. It just means you're motoring through your goals much quicker. Choosing the day, it really doesn't matter which day you choose, but things to keep in mind are things like if you check in on a Monday morning so you're ready for the whole week, just be aware that if you've got a list of things you haven't actually completed, there's a good chance you'll be up Sunday night finishing them, just so you can say, yes, I've done everything, I've ticked it all off on my list. From experience, I do this every single time. I'll give you an example. I have a coach, and before Christmas, we set out some goals that I had to get done before the next time we talk. And we've had a little bit of time. Obviously, we've had Christmas, we've had New Year. We aren't actually talking until this week. And I've only done about half of the things that I need to do with her. And they all have to get done. I've just been doing other things. And now when I look, I think, right, I've got 3 more days to get everything on this list done before I speak to her. And that kind of fire under your butt saying, come on, you've got to get it done. You do not want to see her and talk to her and say, yeah, I haven't spoken to you for 4 weeks, but I haven't done it. You do not want to be in that position, because you let them down. You feel like a bit of an idiot. It's like, really? You've had 4 weeks and you haven't done this? It might be a lot of work, but you still know you've got to get it done. And that is brilliant. So I tend to choose a Wednesday or a Thursday. So all the podcast and the blogging stuff is done. And then I can work on the business side of things and the career side of things other times when I don't have other looming deadlines. So keep that in mind. And Monday means Sunday night racing around, and no one wants to start their week that way. But a midweek might work much better. As I've said, 30 minutes is really good. An hour, if it's just 2 people, an hour might feel too long. It's a long time to be talking. Half an hour each person is quite a lot of information to get across. Whereas really you're holding each other accountable. It's not a coaching session. It is just, I'm going to do this. Here's what I got done. Here's a problem I have. Can you help me? So 30 minutes is actually perfect. And be strict. So none of the chit chat unless you're friends and you want to do that. You find another time for that. 15 minutes. Be strict. Set a timer. I've done that many times when I've had calls, especially with friends. I've gone, right, it's binging, my turn. Another thing that's really good to set out before you start is what you want to check in on. It doesn't just have to be business. I mean, this podcast is about interiors and styling and writing, so I do talk about business more than anything. But there are so many other elements that you can check in on. You might want to check on health, personal things like relationships. It could be things you want to do for yourself, time for yourself. It could be morning routines. I love a morning routine. I love being held accountable for a morning routine. I have actually I'm going to share a little bit of what my check-in is. In fact, I will. I'll share that in a minute. So on the first call, decide where you're at and where you want to be by next week. So set your intentions. And then from the second call onwards, you can say, this is what I did, and here's what I want to get done by the next call. It's very simple formula. So your job as an accountability partner is to help and advise when your partner needs it. You might find that they're being very hard on themselves. I think that's something that comes up quite a lot, is I'm very hard on myself. I can always say to myself, I'm not doing enough, I should be doing more, when actually I'm doing a lot. I'm just seeing the things I haven't ticked off my list. And your partner's job is to say, no, that's good, you've done a fair bit, don't be so hard on yourself. And at the same time, if you're not being hard enough, if you think your partner is slacking and making excuses, then you are there to say, no, come on, you said you were going to do this 2 weeks in a row now and you haven't done it, you need to get it done. If you don't do that, you're not holding them accountable and you're not going to push each other forwards. You need to be able to be open and honest with each other and say, you need to be softer on yourself, you're being very hard, but at the same time you need to be able to say, get your butt in gear. Something that I've found is really useful is creating a document that you can both access, like a Google Doc, and you can write your goals down. So I used to do an email to each other, but actually if you have a shared document, this is new to me. I've only just really started doing shared documents, and it's just a game changer. It's brilliant. I was actually talking to a stylist the other day, and she was saying that she now does her mood boards on like Google. They're not called slides. I think they're called like a presentation. and like a PowerPoint presentation, and she shares the whole presentation with the client, and they can both look at them at the same time and then make changes. I just thought, genius. Just so clever, rather than having to send things. And anyway, I digress. A shared document that you have one page each, so it's like an Excel document almost. You have your goals for this week, and then you can keep checking in on them. You can see what they are. You can see what each other are doing. You can tick them off. But at the same time, you can also set longer goals and longer intentions. You can set your goals out quarterly, which I think is brilliant, because a 3-month goal is the bigger goal that you're constantly working towards. It's really good to have a little think about something big you want to work towards, whether it's a health goal or a business goal or anything. Just having something to push you forward. I mean, this does tie in a little bit with last week's episode about the planner. I think the bigger goals you have, the more you realise you will achieve in a year. And when you look back, you'll see just how much you have done. Another thing I really like to do is start each session with a quick win. So you will take it in turns. One person might say, here's my quick win, here's what I achieved this week, and here's what I want to do next week. And that will take 15 minutes, and then the other person goes and does exactly the same. And sometimes you might find one goes over and one has a little bit less time. Sometimes you might have to run over if someone's got a big issue that they're dealing with. But in general, you try and keep to 15 minutes each. But the quick win is just a really good way to set the tone for the whole accountability session. So it might be something as simple as, I've got a new client. I've been invited to a press invite after speaking to a PR for the first time. Or I've got a shoot that went really well. Or it could be a PR that's got a new client. It just really sets a positive note, and it's just a really lovely way to start. Also, it's good to kind of champion each other. Yes, I did this. That was great. I feel good. So I'll give you an example of a kind of a broken down session. So if I was going to start, I would start with a quick win. So this week, it's almost like I'm doing my accountability with you. This week I booked in 3 podcast interviews with people who I've had on my list for a long time. And that made me feel really good because I'm so excited. More on that in the next couple of weeks. That would be my quick win. So for business, I might say that I've got a blog post and a podcast out in this week, and I was planning to do that, so I was really glad I got that done. I might have a health goal. I always have a health goal. I do 365 health goals every year. Last year, I didn't want to drink any fizzy drinks, so no Coke, no Dr. Pepper, which I'm addicted to. I didn't have any for, well, actually it was 364 days because I allow myself Dr. Pepper on New Year's Eve. Now, I know this sounds really stupid, but I'm properly addicted to the stuff. So when everyone else is drinking champagne on New Year's Eve, I'm drinking Dr. Pepper and I'm very happy. Anyway, I wanted to set myself a new goal. So I continue on with that one. So I'm still not drinking fizzy drinks. I'm allowed fizzy alcohol, by the way. I'm allowed fizzy alcohol and fizzy water. So for 2020, I thought I want to do something food. So I thought, right, really the obvious choice is chocolate or crisps. And the thought of giving up either of them was just too hard. So in the end, I decided I would give up chips. Because chips is one of those things that you shouldn't have, but when you've been on a shoot and you're really tired, or you've been in London all day and there's a McDonald's or a Burger King right next to your platform on the way home, you're like, oh, I'm just going to grab a McDonald's. It's cheap and quick and easy. And I thought, no, let's give up chips. So I did that. And after a week, I thought, this is really easy. This is almost too easy. Chips isn't something that I have all the time. It's not something I have to work towards giving up. I'm going to add chocolate and crisps in. So since the 7th of January, I haven't had chocolate or crisps. Now, there are ways around this. I'm allowed chocolate biscuits. I'm allowed cakes that are chocolate flavoured. It's really the bars of chocolate. So far, so good, but it is a bit weird. Anyway, so my health goal would be 365. No chocolate, no crisps, no chips. So it's the 3 C's. No 3 C's. Anyway, so I'm doing well on that goal. God, can you imagine being an accountability partner with me? Sticking to 15 minutes is really tight. It's really hard. Anyway, I'm talking to you guys. I can chat a bit when it's just you and I. Personal. Now, personal, it could be relationship, but it really, what I mean by personal is, what do you do for you? This is a bit of I really hate to say this, a bit of a nod towards wellness. I find I'm going all the time, and I forget to stop and have a bit of relaxation. So I'm recording this Sunday morning. My favourite thing to do is go to the boot sale, and I've said I'm not allowed to go to the boot sale until I've recorded this podcast. But that is such a pleasure for me to go and mooch around the boot sale. So that would be something I would like to do. And also I've set myself to have 2 Epsom salt baths a week because they are physically very relaxing. So I was set it by an osteopath. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but I'm obsessed with them. But it's quite hard for me to set the time aside because I don't do short baths. I take the laptop into the bathroom with me and I watch something on Netflix. So I have a hot bath, I have a hot herbal tea, and I have Netflix, and I'm in there for a minimum of an hour. If I'm being honest, probably 2. I do top up the hot water. So for my personal goal, I would like to have 2 baths a week where I do proper soak because it's just the most relaxing thing for me. So maybe you can think of something that you enjoy doing that you don't make time for. Maybe you want to give yourself a facial. Maybe you want to go for a walk in the woods. It could be anything. Meet up with a friend for coffee. It could be anything. But having a weekly check-in means you are aware that it's been 3 weeks since you've done something just for you. So that would be my personal. And then routines, as I mentioned earlier. I love a morning routine. And I have this week, I said I'm going to get up at 5:30, I'm going to walk the dog, I'm going to do a bit of work, then I'm going to walk the dog, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. And in fact, maybe I should do a morning routine podcast actually. If you're interested in a morning routine podcast, let me know. But of late, I haven't been getting up. I've been setting the alarm. When it goes off, I move my alarm. I have to get out of bed to turn my alarm off. And I literally get up, turn around, and I face in the opposite direction and I lie on the bed in the opposite direction, stroking my dog, not getting up. And actually my mornings have been starting to get later and later, which is really stupid because it's actually starting to get lighter and lighter. So when I speak to my coach on Thursday, I'm going to ask to hold myself accountable to her. Now I know she gets up really early, so I'm going to say to her, I'm going to ping you a text or a picture of me dressed at 5:30. So that is proper accountability. I really like a routine and I really like to be held accountable for it because I think if you set your I know if my morning starts right, my whole day starts right, and if my day starts right, my week starts right, and you can see where this is going. It's a super knock-on effect. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much how your accountability will work. You start with a quick win. You say what you have achieved from last week, and then you set your intentions for the next week. You put them in a document that you can share. You arrange to meet at a set time for a set amount of time, and you hold yourselves properly accountable. Now, there's a couple of rules that I'd like to just mention. It goes without saying that everything you say in accountability is completely confidential. Nothing is ever repeated. I have told some people within the industry, so my friend who I used to do the accountability with, I've told her my massive goals for Inside Stylist that I'm not ready to share with anybody else. I need to know I can trust her that she won't repeat it to anybody. You have to be able to speak openly and honestly and truthfully and trust the person you're with. In my experience, you just gain such a love and respect for the person you do accountability with. It's such a special bond. It really, really is. Even if it's someone I've done accountability with people in other countries before. You just love these people. Because you're so supportive of each other. You must always respect each other's time. It's so important to be on time. If you are meeting at 9 o'clock, you need to be at the computer, everything switched on, everything working, Wi-Fi running properly, and you've checked it all before the call starts. You need to be there 9 on the dot. The last thing I'm going to say is sometimes it's good to just start with a face-to-face in real life meeting. You can find a coffee shop or a hotel or a cafe or anywhere outside of the home to meet and go through where you're at, what you're doing, even if it's for an hour or two, and to just meet in person, kind of set the ball rolling. But also maybe do that every 3 months. Every quarter, you set a new quarterly goal, you have a big intention, you can really brainstorm what you're doing and really, really kind of get directional and intentional about what you want to do. And the reason we don't do it at each other's houses is because it becomes a different thing. It's a different kind of beast. If you're at someone's house, you're pretty much, you're not thinking it in work in the same sort of way. If you're working on something as a business and you want to go to each other's houses, that's different from accountability. Accountability needs to be a very work-focused entity. So that is accountability. So go out there and find someone who you can be accountable to, who is on your same level with your same sort of drive and ambition, and you can talk to, and they'll understand what you're talking about when you say, I'm doing a shoot and it's a big problem. Members of Inside Stylist, I'm going to be dropping a newsletter to you tomorrow with more details about this. I've also, for everybody, I have done a kind of a checklist of what you need to do to kind of like a form to fill out for your first session, so you don't have to think about it. It's all written down, so you can print that out. It's a free printable on the website. You can also get it through the show notes. So if you're listening on your phone, just scroll up on the show notes and there'll be a link there, or go to insidestylist.com/accountability and you'll find it there. So let me know how you get on. Let me know if you've got any questions, but get accountable because it's a complete game changer. Okay, till next time, bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Inside Stylist podcast. You can find all the details from today's episode over in the show notes on insidestylist.com. If you enjoyed the show, I'd love it if you would head on over to iTunes and rate and review it. It's the best way to help other people find the show, and I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, bye for now.